Hey there and welcome back to Baldur's Gate 3. My name is Pete and today we complete another episode of this Honor Mode walkthrough with our Dark Urge Halfling Bard Sylvia Hairyfoot. Last time we left off, after completing round 2 of our tour through the Emerald Grove, we officially made Will a party member, purchased some new weapons, uncovered a group of thieving tiefling children, as well as their hideout where we met their leader Mole. She tasked us with stealing the valuable Idol of Silvanus, but we took care of other business first, namely freeing the goblin prisoner Saza from her cell, in exchange for her putting in a good word for us back at the goblin camp. Finally, we also learned about a strange condition plaguing Gale, who is apparently forced to regularly consume magic items. So, a lot happened, and a lot more will happen today, as we once again traverse the underground passage where we fought some goblin intruders last time, to return to the Emerald Grove. However, instead of going right back through the makeshift prison, we want to turn left this time, jump the gap and activate solo mode, as there are more explosive torch stalks ahead. One is hidden below a barrel, so let's move it to be able to shoot it. The barrel itself does not contain anything. We're also a little too close with Sylvia here, but thankfully she succeeds on a DC 12 saving throw, so no damage is taken and the path is clear. A bit further down we find another one of those guardian statues, this one however not shooting us, allowing Sylvia to safely grab the contents of a well-hidden pouch. Also, there seems to be someone inside the building up ahead, the tiefling Pandirna, and we can speak to her by accessing the building through the hole in the roof.
Stop! This place is off limits! Leave!
In a secluded place all alone. It would be too easy to do away with her, far beneath your talents.
Plenty of options here, but no need for violence. A simple persuasion check will suffice to get on her good side, and with a DC of 10, success is almost guaranteed. Almost, because triggering this conversation temporarily teleports Sylvia closer to Pandirna, out of range of Shadowheart's guidance.
Damn it! Was inventory today. I'm sorry. Nerves are shot after the attack. Do what you gotta do. Sorry if I don't show you around.
Now, instead of ridiculing her, let's offer our help. Maybe we can get something out of it.
I just fall back down. Legs are as steady as a foal's. Bloody potion!
Well, it's probably best to hide our more psychotic tendencies while we're in the grove, so let us resist the Dark Urge once more, and instead inquire about that potion she just mentioned.
From the old lady in the cave. The one with the lotions and potions. To her credit, it worked. I'm as strong as a bugbear, and fearless. Course she also warned of side effects. Should have listened. Now I'm stuck guarding crates.
Right, so she clearly means Auntie Ethel. Let us keep that in mind, since she has invited us to her hut. Meanwhile, we can gain some approval by offering to heal her. For free, that is, otherwise Gale and Will won't be so delighted, and she would also only pay us 2 gold pieces.
All right. I guess being fearless won't help if an arrow comes flying right at me.
Now, we're in fact not planning on healing her just yet. A potion or a simple cure wounds or healing word would not do it, and I don't want to waste a 2nd level spell slot with Shadowheart, so we'll be back later.
Wait, but... All right. Don't be long.
Right, now into the storage shack proper, there's another creature here that we can talk to, that rat that we met in episode 3, who led us here with talk of the evil thing.
The evil thing's in the chest.
And that chest is right behind Pandirna, who conveniently cannot move, allowing us to sneak behind her and loot the chest for a key, some gold and a gemstone, an item that the rat will be happy to see gone.
The evil thing's gone. Now, where was I?
And there it goes, but we won't, at least not yet. There are a few more containers outside of Pandirna's field of view, a book on soul coins that I actually believe we have already read elsewhere, a storage cabinet unlocked with the key we just grabbed and containing various poisons, and on the left side here a wicker basket and a wooden barrel, both containing some supplies. The rest of the area is sadly in clear view of Pandirna, and interacting with the door at this stage is also considered a crime since it's locked, so we have to take the long way around, back up the crates, through the makeshift prison, and past the storage shack's front door. While we make our way towards the next point of interest, I quickly want to mention that we still have the amulet belonging to Barth that we stole back from the tiefling kids. Sadly though, that quest seems to be a bit bugged, and I cannot get him to trigger the conversation in which we actually can give it back to him. I've tried everything, it just wouldn't work. So, on to the next bit then. There seems to be a commotion near the entrance to the Druid's sacred pool.
Please, let us through.
Let my daughter go right now!
She's a thief, hellspawn, and you will wait for Kagha's judgment. Now get back!
Oh, let me through, Mragrasham, or I'll rip your damn throat out!
Right, that didn't sound too friendly. It appears as if the Druids have taken Chimera's daughter, and they're not letting her parents into the area. Let's talk to them to find out a bit more.
We need to get Arabella out, now!
You heard the guards. They're waiting on Kagha to give word.
I'd sooner trek through the 9 hells than trust that snake! Ugh!
And indeed, the most pressing question at this time is most likely the reason why the Druids are holding Arabella.
Arabella tried to steal their idol. Druids lost their damn minds about it. They need it for their precious ritual.
Oh, it's all my fault. I told her I wished the wretched thing would just disappear, or better yet, explode.
Now Arabella's being judged by a bunch of Druids who hate us. That's not right.
Sounds like she made the fatal mistake of getting caught. We shouldn't get involved.
So, good to know that that's what happens to people who are caught trying to steal the idol. No need to chastise the parents, though. Let's offer our help instead.
Thank you. They won't give us the time of day.
Hurry! I'm at the end of my tether as is. Can't take this waiting. Damn it. We could have taken those guards.
I'd rather you not get eaten by a bear. Try greasing palms. These things over.
Oh, because that went so well last time.
Right, and with approval gained from Gale and Will, let's talk to the rest of the tieflings in the area too.
Lives are at stake, and the cowards only care about their bloody rituals.
Those dirt kissers would let us die for the sake of their bloody grove.
We could help each other. Fight the goblins together. Instead, these fools are trying to chase us away.
And with that, I think it's time we introduce ourselves to the Druid guards over here.
Carl Magrin, give her a chance. You, get back!
Well, before we assert our dominance, let us at least find out why the Druids are keeping this place closed to others.
It's forbidden to outsiders. Kagha's orders.
Not much of an explanation, to be honest, but perhaps we can convince her by reminding the Druids of our deeds during the fight against the goblins.
Keep back! Force my hand and I'll show you its claws.
A moment, Gianna.
What? Oh, I understand. You. Apparently Kagha wants to see you. Go ahead.
I smell drama amongst these adventurers. What have you heard?
Right, and with that, we are allowed to enter the sacred pool, where the Druids of the Grove are already preparing the cleansing ritual, using that aforementioned Idol of Silvanus. We best leave them to it. After all, someone else seems eager to make our acquaintance.
My good friend. You were at the gates just now, no? When the goblins came? You saw them up close? A few questions, if you please. There's no overstating my interest.
Just to get a bit more out of the conversation, let us decline the invitation initially. And after all, we do have plenty on our plate already.
I'll make it very quick. Hand to heart.
Right, no choice but to agree, and what kind of bard would we be to refuse a conversation?
Glory. Now then, how would you describe that particular batch of goblins? Size, nature, distinguishing qualities?
You search your mind, successfully recalling various details of goblin behavior.
Okay, so Volo here seems to be writing a report on the goblins, and we can help with our expertise. The first bard option here shares plenty of details and sticks to the truth.
My, a scholar after my own heart. Spent much time among goblins?
Well, a good question indeed, one that we remain vague with, simply answering that we are not unfamiliar with their kind.
Shocking little creatures, aren't they? Still, there's quite a bit more to them than most accounts allow. I myself plan to record the world's most extensive catalogue of their means and habits. A blue ocean of information, I dare say. Now, I've a few more questions, if you don't mind. And the dragon they had marching in the rear, was it of the brass or silver variety?
Right, I think you can see where this is going. A tall tale indeed. Let's play along and offer an even better option, a gold dragon.
A gold dragon? How marvelous. Thank heaven you were here to specify, or I might have recorded a bold-faced lie. Last question, then you'll be quite free. Did the attackers rally to the absolute when they fell upon the gates?
Now, this is in fact true. They used a very similar war cry, but why not embellish that fact a teensy little bit?
They did, didn't they? Oh, curious. Oh, curious indeed. I've interrogated one, a captive in this very camp. She reports they've abandoned their god Maglabiet in favor of someone called the Absolute. The scandal!
Scandalous indeed, tension between the gods. The world obviously demands to know how Maglabiet responded.
Oh, I'd imagine him quite displeased. Since their change in allegiance, these goblins are informed by a kind of strategy anathema to their kind. I, for one, intend to get to the bottom of it. I'm just preparing to head to their camp as we speak, in fact. If you'll excuse me, I ought not to dawdle.
Right, but we are allowed some questions of our own. So what exactly brings a man like Volo out into the wilds in the first place?
Why, goblins, obviously. Well, someone ought to chronicle these curious events. I'd heard the master of this place, a druid called Halsin, might be able to point me in the right direction. But he's been quite captured by them already. Ironic, really.
That seems like a dangerous task, but we only get one more dialogue choice here. So why the dragon?
My friend, every story benefits from a dragon. Until we meet again.
Alright then, now there's a bit more to explore around Volo. A bucket of fish contains, well, fish, and a note right above it tells us to keep the fish away from Tuffet.
Would that we could speak freely, my Ursine friend. Alas, I've never learned to converse with your kind.
Well, that is unfortunate for him, but luckily we have.
Yes, I'm quite aware.
Just a moment. This man is recording my story. I am far from home.
As the colourful man starts scribbling, the bear sneaks a quick look at the page. His brow furrows. Incomprehensible squiggles surround a crude sketch. A bear disemboweling a clutch of tieflings.
Right, more exaggerated fabrications, whereas the book over here contains what is clearly a Mass Effect reference, a chapter on the miniature giant space hamster. Let's pocket that and also read the plaque on the statue here.
Grizzled friend, what can you
By
tell
Silvanus,
me about
the
this
tree father, our turmoil is calmed.
Now, there is one more bit of loot, but it is hard to reach up on the stone pillar here. We can't get up there, at least not yet, but we have taken a short rest at the end of the last episode, so Sylvia can cast Mage Hand again. The hand can sadly not loot or throw the bird's nest, but it can attack it. 2 hits are usually enough to destroy it and to spill its contents, a gemstone and a necklace. Those can then be thrown, but due to line of sight issues, I found that throwing them on the path over to the left here works best. Don't worry, no one will steal them away from us there, and we will come along that path soon enough. Afterwards then, we take a stroll down to the beach, where we meet yet another bear that we can talk to.
He didn't come back, did he? His smell is gone. He's gone.
And while it is pretty clear from what we have gathered who this bear is talking about, let's confirm that it is indeed First Druid Halsin.
Master, he left with the weaponed two legs. He said he'd be back. But I can smell them, the weaponed ones, and I cannot smell him. He's not coming back.
Now, there's no need to discourage him even further, and a lone bear is probably also not going to carve through threats like an entire goblin camp, so let's simply spread some positivity.
No, the woods have gone dark. There's too many predators lately, even for Master.
Right, a sad conversation, but perhaps we can turn his mood around by finding Halsin after all. For now at least, let's jump the water here and find a hidden chest a bit further up ahead. Gold, a gold ingot, and a scroll of feigned death in this one, a protective spell that is arguably a bit niche in its utility, but perhaps we find a use for it at some point. As we then return to Ormn, we can also find some fish on the beach. He does in fact catch these indefinitely, providing a theoretically infinite supply. Finally, there's a rock that can be moved here. Below, the Amulet of Silvanus, an amulet that lets its user cast Lesser Restoration once per short rest. Let's put that on Shadowheart. I think it makes the most sense on our cleric. Then we grab another fish that Ormn has caught in the meantime and return to the sacred pool. Here, a wooden path leads to an elevator that we already saw from the top a few episodes ago. A sleeping bear currently blocks it.
I'm sleeping.
This is Tuffet, who we read about earlier, but thanks to our Speak with Animals spell, we don't have to waste a fish on her and can simply ask her to move.
Okay.
And there we go, the elevator is now usable, providing quick access to the sacred pool from above, an area that is much closer to the Emerald Grove's entrance. Moving on, we find another animal to talk to, a bird building its nest, the contents of which are currently all marked as owned. Let's try to change that.
Shh, I'm concentrating. Does this look good? Is the coin in the middle?
Now, there is a bard option here that gets us what we want without having to pass a check, so let's encourage Topaz to try out a song instead. This will also earn approval from Shadowheart.
He lets out a tentative chirp. Gaining confidence, he starts a song, abandoning his nest-building efforts.
Alright, there we go, and just like that, we can now take every single item from the nest without it being considered a crime. The shiny key can also be used right away. Up here, there is a matching shiny chest, and while Sylvia has already used her mage hand, Gale has not, so let's cast it. This chest can then also be thrown, and we can unlock it to receive 130 gold and some alchemy ingredients, not too shabby. Our tour continues. From the herb garden here we can harvest 3 mugwort and 2 autumn crocus, both used in crafting potions too, and then we spot another bird, this one in conversation with one of the druids.
Find our master. Return to me then. Tell me what you find. Tell only me. Understand? Fly quick. Fly safe. Speak.
And indeed, she appears to be the only druid in the area not participating in the ritual, so let's find out why.
I would prefer not to. But if Master Halsin does not return, Kagha will give the order, and my voice will not matter.
Alright, seems like the plan is very much set in stone. Perhaps we can still find the healer Nettie though, before it is executed.
Find Nettie in her room, through the carved door, deeper in the grove.
And finally, we can now inquire about her conversation with the bird to get to the heart of this dialogue.
The bird knows. She needs to know. You do not.
Right, this brings up a skill check, and as always, we'll go with Persuasion. The DC of 10 is guaranteed to succeed thanks to the lucky feat. You can see it here, even with a roll of only 2 and only a +1 from guidance, we still pass.
Forgive me. It is not you I fear. It is my brethren. More follow Kagha every day. They are afraid, and she offers a simple solution. Eject the refugees, and we will be safe.
And this does indeed sound like she would prefer Kagha's reign to be stopped, which brings us to the question, how?
A druid and an outsider. We can do nothing without turning the others against us. Only Master Halsin can stop this. I pray my bird returns with news of him. If not, I fear for my people.
Right, one more reason, I suppose, to find Halsin, and we're given yet another one by speaking to the boar here.
I thought you were Halsin.
The boar prances around, haunches clenching and unclenching impatiently.
Where's Halsin? Promise me a mate.
Well, poor fellow, let's hope we can find the druid, while we now soak in a little ambience by approaching the 5 druids currently focused on the Rite of Thorns.
In umbram cretus sanguine iuratus.
Pagene culamur en umbra tua pater aborum. Defendenos ab imminentibus equilibrio tuo.
Complexum tuum, ab terra ortum, agnostifera.
In umbram cretus sanguine iuratus.
Around the sacred pool, there are also a few more alchemy ingredients to be found, some dagger root, some autumn crocus, a flask of antidote, and some mugwort. Standing in the ritual circle here also bestows upon us Silvanus' blessing, proficiency on nature and animal handling checks, but the blessing is lost as soon as we leave the green shimmer. One last thing to do then, let's read the plaque over here.
By Silvanus, the forest father, we are granted balance.
And then we can pass through the stone door and enter the druid's chambers.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Have you lost your senses, Kagha? Release her.
She stole the Idol of Silvanus. She must pay the price. We will imprison the thief under guard of my serpent. When we cast out the rest, she may join them. Let the devil be an example. We will tolerate outlanders no longer. The grove will be made safe. The circle will be closed.
Please. I'm sorry.
This is madness, Kagha. She's just a...
A what, Rath? A thief? A poison? A threat? I will imprison the devil. And I will cast out every stranger.
A death viper. You've milked their poison before. A single drop of it could kill that child in a heartbeat.
Right, looks like we have stumbled upon a dicey situation. Perhaps it is best if we don't pick sides just yet. After all, we have a very valid reason to be here. We were told Kagha wanted to see us.
We will speak soon enough. First, judgment must be passed. The parasite eats our food, drinks our water, then steals our most holy idol in thanks. Rath, lock her up. She remains here until the rite is complete. And keep still, devil. Tila is restless.
Come, Kagha. We took back the idol. Surely...
Do it.
The snake's hiss of approval reveals its intentions. Should the child struggle, it is poised to strike. The death of a child. A timeless tragedy that never grows old.
Now, plenty of choices here on how to get involved, but before we make a decision, let us first once again resist our dark urges. This may not be the right time and place.
Her life matters more than satiating your dark fantasies. You focus, and they're gone. but clearly this child's life is in danger.
Now then, apart from simply not getting involved, all other options here have us attempt to stop what Kagha is doing, and we will actually not go with the Bard option, as the other persuasion option has a lower DC, 12 instead of 15, or a 15% increase in our chance to succeed.
Very well. She may go. Break your word, and my serpent shall feed. Sif, Tila to me! Out, thief. My grace has its limits.
It hurts.
Thank you, Kagha. Master Halsin...
Halsin isn't here. Keep his name off your tongue, lest Tila pierce it.
Okay, approval gained from the entire party, and Shadowheart had a rather unique reaction too. Let's talk to her first to find out what's up with that.
I know that look. You're wondering why I was in pain before. Let's just clear the air about that now. It's just an old wound that hurts me from time to time. Nothing to be concerned about. It's nothing to do with the tadpoles, at least, in case your imagination is in danger of getting away from you. It's just something I have to live with.
Well, she sounds somewhat reassuring, but still, let us at least try to understand her pain a little better.
Quite a lot, if I'm being honest. But it always passes quickly, so I can manage.
And just because we can, let us also make absolutely sure this has nothing to do with the tadpoles, otherwise we could soon be suffering the same fate.
Positive. You can trust me on that.
Okay, so far so good, nothing substantial learned yet. Maybe Gale is a bit more open with us this time around.
That woman has more venom in her heart than a snake in its fangs. But at least the child is safe. What is youth if not a time to be forgiven for one's transgressions?
Now, there is no approval to be gained in this conversation, so we might as well attempt to get something more out of him. Perhaps he was a naughty child too.
Ha! And you don't? You're wholly without vice or sin, or the occasional lapse in judgment? No. You don't strike me as quite that boring.
Alright, and with those two chats taken care of, I think we can finally start speaking to the chamber's occupants.
Oh no. I hate wolves.
I didn't realize you were frightened of wolves, Shadowheart.
Everyone's frightened of something. My fear's hardly irrational when you see the fangs on those things.
Or, well, perhaps we speak to Shadowheart again first.
I suppose you've noticed I'm not terribly fond of wolves. They're ravenous predators with fangs like daggers. It's hardly an irrational fear to harbor. You've been decent to me so far. Maybe if you can, don't make me face any more of them. At least, not alone.
Now, frustratingly, we can't ask her how this fear came to be, but we can gain some approval by promising not to expose her to wolves in the future.
Thank you. I had a feeling you'd be understanding.
Well then, let's see how this next conversation goes, as we now approach the wolf Silver.
Another stranger come to vex me. What will you do? Hunt me? Grab my tail? Shout until my head hurts?
Not the kind of treatment one would have expected for a wolf in a druid grove, although he might also be talking about the tieflings. Either way, we will simply give him our scent and leave him be. Understandably, this also earns us approval from Shadowheart.
No, wait. You smell fresh. Safe. You can stay, if you must.
Right, on to the next, the druid Rath.
You did well to speak up for the girl. That snake is fickle. A tragedy prevented.
And indeed, this brings up the question, what would have happened if we hadn't gotten involved?
Nothing befitting a child. Nothing befitting any of our world's creatures. We've let a snake replace our leader. She will see the tieflings driven out, or worse.
Now, before we continue to ask about Kagha's leadership, let's quickly inquire about Nettie. After all, we were told to find her in here.
Ah, I see. You will find her deeper in the caves.
Alright, now then, we already know that the druid's real leader is Halsin, So how come Kagha now gets to rule and no one steps up to her?
She is first Druid in Halsin's absence. With him caught or dared by goblins, none may gainsay, but more will die if her ritual is finished. I doubt those exiled by the Rite will survive long outside.
And since we are pretty much already locked into the quest of finding Halsin, we might as well offer our help to Rath here too.
Would you? I would give anything to see Halsin return home.
Well, that sounds promising, and considering that we will likely encounter some grave dangers, I think it's only fair to ask for a reward.
Our need is great. I will open the treasures of this grove to you, even if the circle forbids it. Halsin is an elf with the presence of a bear. He left west with the adventurers. You won't mistake the first Druid for anyone else.
Moving on then, we can get a short line out of the Druid lore.
Please leave. Our hospitality has limits, and they were crossed long ago.
And then read through the documents on the table. First, a map tells us that the lands to the east are tainted by a curse. Then a grimy report speaks of a town to the east, its villagers possibly still alive, so we should tread carefully. And then a fairly racist warning to the people of the Sword Coast, agitating against tieflings, dark elves and other races that may not be part of the region's standard repertoire, if you will. Lastly, another report mentions a shadow curse and what it entails, infected trees, modifying magic, and a possible divine origin related to the goddess Shah.
Temple of Shah? Where? And what's this about a curse?
That brings up a line from Shadowheart, let's keep that in mind. But first, we speak to a familiar face.
Oh, my saviour. I wish you could have visited in better times.
Not much more than that from Findal, but he seems grateful. Now, inside this chamber, there are actually quite a few containers to loot freely. We won't find any riches, of course, but some camp supplies and clutter. A logbook then tells of the Druids' everyday dealings with the creatures and people around them. Again, feel free to pause to read it all. Meanwhile, we have reached Kagha and probably want to speak to her in private.
Go on. Say it. You think I'm a monster?
Monster? Too kind. A demon, more like.
And indeed, considering our party composition, anything but calling her a monster would likely not go well, so let's prioritize the approval from our party over that from Kagha.
Yes, you would say so. I know your kind. You see only villains and victims. A viper bears her fangs defending her brood. I call her mother, you call her monster. No matter. I took back the Idol of Silvanus, and the rite is resumed. We will seal the grove, free from harm, free of intruders.
Now, admittedly, apart from the thieving tiefling children, we haven't really discovered any major problems relating to the tieflings, so surely those children can't be all she's worried about.
She stole the Idol of Silvanus during prayer, and interrupted the rite. Why? I don't know or care.
Well, after speaking to Mole last time, we might know why, but let's keep that to ourselves and instead ask about the ritual and its magic.
The Rite of Thorns. It is the Tree Father's gift that none come to harm. When we speak the final prayer, the great vine will sprout forth. The grove will be cloaked in bramble and thorn. No one enters, no one leaves. Sanctuary. None of this can happen while Outlanders infect us. Silvanus demands that we choke them out.
Speaking of which, casting the tieflings out would surely lead to them perishing on the road, something their leader Zevlor asked us to address if we speak to Kagha.
And mine perish if he stays. You showed great mettle at the gate. The mettle of a skilled sword for hire. I want you to provide your services to Zevlor. Offer to guide the Outlanders out of the grove. I'm sure they'll reward you well. They're to be gone before final prayer. If they are not, the Viper must strike.
Well, seems like we have no other choice but to relay that message back to Zevlor, and who knows, maybe we can indeed ensure their safety.
You will do more than speak. This tale ends but one way. With the Outlander rot cleansed, and the grove forever shrouded.
Alright, Kagha remains uncompromising in her stance and we're almost done in this room. There are 3 more creatures to talk to though, 3 rats surrounding Kagha, all named Olodan, Ren and Pinta.
The rat glares at you, but says nothing. The rat watches your movements, but does not speak. The rat doesn't respond. It simply bares its teeth.
Okay, slightly curious behavior. So far, all animals we approached talk to us. These 3, however, do not. Before we worry too much about that, though, let's gain some inspiration. There are 4 plaques in this chamber, and we now want to read them all, but with Gale, whose investigation and religion skills are the highest in the party. Shadowheart can also give him guidance that will last for 1 minute, long enough to hopefully boost the upcoming passive skill checks.
The forest rose with claw and tooth to tear the darkness from its roots. The mural depicts Druid and Beast fighting together to drive monsters from their land. It looks like they were victorious, and yet the monsters have returned. By claw and tooth from root to thorn, the old oak's grove to wildlings sworn. The mural shows Druids claiming the grove in the name of the old oak, Silvanus, god of nature. The towers seized, the battle done. The moonrise broke the darkest one. You recognize the mark of the dark goddess Shar on the broken helmet. This army marched in her name.
So many dead. Sent to the Night Singer's embrace.
Moonrise must be a reference to Shar's divine sister, Selûne.
That mural, they look like dark justiciars.
This comment here from Shadowheart, by the way, something we want to follow up on later.
Darkest hour, a concord made, twixt harp and wild against the shade. Harp and wild. You recall stories of an alliance between Druids and the Harpers, but the details are vague.
And there we go, reading all 4 plaques and passing all associated skill checks gives Gale an inspiration worth 25 experience points, a tiny step closer towards reaching level 4. Relatively speaking, the jump from 3 to 4 is definitely the one that takes the longest. Now, another druid has sat down, let's briefly talk to him.
What will the tieflings want next? Letting the Hellchild go was a mistake.
And afterwards we can finally pay a visit to Nettie.
Just hold still.
Before we talk to her though, let's speak to the bird that she's healing.
Please. I'm resting.
Well, maybe we can assist in some way, so let's ask the bird what happened.
The bird says nothing, trying to rest.
Right, sounds like it needs rest, and no, we won't prod its broken wing. We will simply not disturb it any further.
The bird says nothing. Only the sound of its labored breath fills the silence.
And with that, let's now speak to Nettie.
I see you. Just give me a moment.
Once again, let us offer our help. We do have at least one capable healer in our party after all.
A moment.
This medicatrix.
There. It's up to her now. Life or death. Now, what was it you needed?
Right then, since this is clearly Nettie, we came to the right person, so let's ask her if she can help with our various ailments.
I do what I can. For most folks, that's enough. Come here. Let's have a look at you. You seem healthy enough. A bit tired around the eyes, maybe.
Now, in this conversation, honesty is the best policy, so we want to share the fact that we have a tadpole in our brain, not to mention the memory loss and the dark urges.
A tadpole? A Mindflayer tadpole?
Sounds like she's familiar with the subject, but can she help us get rid of them?
I'll do what I can. Come, follow me. I might be able to help. We need to be quick. This way.
Now Nettie walks ahead and opens a stone door. Before we follow her though, let's approach the bird once more.
The bird's eyes are glassy, its breathing weak.
This is mainly just a dialogue choice for Dark Urge characters, and once again we will resist the urge. I'd like to think that the Druid Grove has a positive influence on Sylvia Hairyfoot.
Your chest tightens, your fingertips shake.
Of course, that aforementioned positive influence has its limits. After all, after opening the stone door, Nettie will remain standing in place with her back turned to us, the perfect opportunity to loot the room of all valuables. Don't worry, no other NPC will ever set foot in here. The most notable loots are probably the grand total of 8 healing potions you can find, 1 on the table here, 4 in this chest, and a further 3 in this chest. Other than that, one can also find plenty of camp supplies, alchemy ingredients, and the recipe for antidote, so if we ever need something to neutralize poisons, we can now brew it ourselves. Once you get too close to the door, Nettie will also walk into the next room,
Head on in.
allowing for easy access to a Druid notebook that speaks of someone named Ketheric, whose defeat has cursed the land with darkness, perhaps a reference to the shadow curse we read about earlier. Some more books can be grabbed from the shelves over here, and that's about it. Let us now follow Nettie into the next room and learn more about what can be done to remove our parasite.
This one had the same problem as you. Attacked us in the woods together with some goblins. Tadpole crawled out of his head soon after.
Well, not exactly what we're hoping our fate will be, but it does seem like the Druids are not playing around when it comes to people infected, although in this case, with the victim attacking them as part of a goblin raid, their reaction is understandable.
No. That was Master Halsin. A pity you got me instead of him. He understands these things, studied them. Still, we have options. All right. Let's see what we can do.
Right, so Nettie picked up a dangerously spiky-looking branch there. Well, let's hope she doesn't plan to use that to prod the tadpole out.
She shifts uneasily, hesitating. Something's off.
It might. But first things first. Tell me about your symptoms. Have you noticed anything strange happening?
And yeah, it might is not exactly the kind of answer we were looking for. So what is she hiding?
I'm telling you everything you need to know. Believe me on that. I want to help you, but I can't unless you work with me. So, has anything unusual happened to you?
Now, once again, let's stick to the truth. Not dying from falling from the ship and our conversation with the intellect devourer us were one-off incidents, while merging our minds with other infected unfortunately happened more than once, so let's share that detail of our affliction.
Victims can identify each other. Not that the others know they're victims, of course. How'd you pick up the parasite? Halsin was desperate to find where all this was happening.
And at this point, I suppose we're in too deep to turn back, so we might as well share the rest of the story.
A Mindflayer ship? But Master Halsin was sure. Look, you've been straight with me, so I'll be straight with you. You're dangerous. If you transform here, we're all dead. But you seem like a good soul. You deserve a chance to save yourself. This is a vial of wyvern poison. Swear to me, you'll swallow it if you feel any symptoms.
Okay, interesting turn of events here. Sounds to me like Nettie won't be able to help us after all. So why all the questions? And what about that spiky branch?
The thorn? Coated in a fatal toxin. It was a last resort, in case I couldn't trust you. I don't have a cure. Only a way out. I'm sorry for misleading you, but I had to be sure you weren't a threat before I told you everything. Now, do I have your word or not?
Now, very important, if we do not swear to take the poison, Nettie will turn hostile. We don't want that. Instead, we can even gain Shadowheart's approval by agreeing to drink it.
I hope it doesn't come to that, but thank you. Here. You know, I've spent my life treating folk and never once saw a Mindflayer infection. Then suddenly, there's dozens of you. Maybe more. Master Halsin and I were tracking them, studying them, trying to figure out what the hells was going on. Because you should all be changing. There should be a small army of Mindflayers out there. But you're not. Weird powers aside, you seem perfectly normal.
Now, this is something Lae'zel told us before. We should be changing, but we aren't. Perhaps the Druids have learned why from studying the subject next to us.
For one, that thing in your head is like nothing we've ever seen from Mindflayers. It's one of their worms for sure. But this one gives you powers. Telepathic connections. And it doesn't turn you into one of them. Not yet, anyhow.
I think there is no need to guess if and when this might change. Instead, we might get more substantial info by asking about the other victims the Druids have been tracking.
Hard to say, but there's a lot we don't know. Infected, folks like you, have been converging on an old temple of Siluna, and I've no idea why. When Master Halsin heard the adventurers were heading that way, he saw a chance to get answers, joined on the spot. Whatever he found there, he didn't make it back.
Right, so that temple might be worth checking out, especially if Halsin is still alive, and seeing as Nettie knows him well, she might be able to assess the odds of that being the case.
I think so. I hope so. I've sent birds to find him, but they can't get close without goblins trying to shoot them down. You, though, you're one of them. Technically speaking, I mean. They won't kill someone carrying their parasite. If you can find Halsin and get him out of there, we can discover what he learned. And perhaps he can save your life. How's that sound?
Now, of course, we will agree, but since Nettie herself could not cure us, what makes her so sure that Halsin can?
I can't make any promises. This is like nothing we've seen before. But I know this for sure. Master Halsin is the only one close to understanding these things. He's your best bet to survive. Otherwise, that vial's your only option.
And yes, indeed, we're basing a lot of our plan on assumptions here, while Lae'zel is probably itching to get to a Githyanki crash, so why risk all of this if we're not sure about the outcome?
The way I see it, you have two options. Halsin, or that wyvern poison. I don't envy your choice, truly. But this is the hand fate's dealt you.
Right then, like I said, we will agree to find Halsin. I think it has become quite clear that rescuing him will help us and the Druid Grove in more than just one way.
Thank you. It would mean everything to the Grove. To me. I wish I could tell you more, but only those adventurers know what happened out there. All I can say for sure is they all went to the old temple of Siluna, and Master Halsin didn't make it back. Good luck out there, and if things start to go bad, remember the vial. Remember your oath.
One step at a time, Nettie. Come on.
Wyvern poison. It's lethal stuff. Let's hope we won't have to sample its delights.
Indeed, ideally we will be able to use this poison against our enemies and not on ourselves.
There's something in that vessel. Take a closer look.
And yes, sitting on the table here is a jar with a Mindflayer parasite in it, and since Nettie has already left the room and does not seem to be able to get any more info from studying it anyways, let's take it for ourselves. There are also more notes on the table, the first one here only talking of the unusual absence of ceremorphosis in the dead drow. From Halsin's journal we can then learn of his fears about the tadpole, but it doesn't mention what those are. And finally, in a note to Nettie, Halsin writes about his circlet, used in combination with a rune that Rath carries to access the library. Now, after picking up some autumn crocus, let us cast Speak with Dead. The drow here might have something to share.
The corpse regards you lifelessly.
As always, we begin by asking who we're talking to, before turning to more important matters.
Ned Siranis of the Absolute.
From Nettie's explanations, we already know what happened to him and how he was killed, so let us instead ask him about the tadpole.
The corpse remains silent. It doesn't understand the question.
Interesting, seemingly no memory of being infected, but perhaps one of an encounter with Mindflayers?
No.
Right, so that's curious indeed. Let's shift to asking about his belief in the Absolute, a logical conclusion since he fought side by side with the goblins.
Moonrise Towers. Initiation.
Right, the Moonrise Towers, definitely adding those to our list of places to visit now. And let's also ask about other drow out there. They might be more difficult to deal with than the goblins.
Minthara. Back at camp.
The spell's power wanes. You can ask no more questions.
Okay, so the name Minthara comes up again. It was already mentioned the last episode by the goblins, and from the drow's corpse we can loot a letter with orders also signed by M, telling the raiding party to track the Druid. That's interesting, because so far it seemed like Halsin was tracking them, so there might be more to this story than we currently know. Now, once again, the room here is perfect for looting, since Nettie has left and will not return anytime soon. There are several bundles of mugwords, another note mentioning Ketheric and the shadow twisting him, plenty of books in the various shelves, some bullywug trumpets, also used in alchemy, another note talking of owlbear sightings, including one involving an owlbear cub, and we can even grab a scroll of firebolt from one of the bookshelves, as well as one of dark vision from another. There is also another big stone slab that is clearly usable as a door. In fact, this is the other side of the door leading into the underground passage that we briefly investigated last time. Unlocking it is impossible at the moment though. The most we can do is activate some of the runes around the statue in the middle of the room.
It's broken, but not too badly.
However, with one broken socket and one missing a rune entirely, we won't get far here. That rune likely the one that Halsin mentioned to be carried by Rath in his note to Nettie. So, nothing else we can do here. There is, however, one more chamber, the servants' quarters. Now, in here, the first thing we want to do is read a scroll on the Rite of Thorns, detailing the methods and results of the ritual, as well as earning us 15 XP, and unlocking a quest to investigate Kagha. Seems like the Rite of Thorns is dangerous magic, so we might want to find out why Kagha is so determined to see it completed. Now, in this chamber, stealing some moderately useful goods is technically also possible, but much more risky, since Silver the Wolf will occasionally wander in here, and his reliance on smell makes him hard to sneak around. Also, Macorial has a routine that has him wander in and out of here too, so in my opinion the risk outweighs the rewards in this room, that is, with one exception. If we wait for both Silver and Macorial to leave, there is a small nook behind this pillar here, where we can find a hidden chest clearly marked as Kagha's. A DC 10 lockpicking check is needed to get us inside. Sylvia is competent enough to pull that off with some reliability now, and inside the chest we not only find a book on shadow druids, but also a note to Kagha to meet at the tree by the swamp docks, signed by Olodan. Now, Olodan is a name that we have heard before. It belongs to one of the rats in the previous chamber. One more reason to assume that there might be something secret going on here. For now, though, we want to loot this one chest right here, probably the most worthwhile one apart from Kagha's, and then it's time to leave the room, and on our way out we can also chat up Shadowheart once more.
Almost pleasant traveling with company. if you ignore all the less pleasant aspects.
This time we want to inquire about her noticing something in one of the murals. Specifically, she mentioned dark justiciars.
What can I say? They were eye-catching. Consider me an art lover.
Well, definitely more to that than she lets on, but that's all we can get out of her at this point. And with that, we are done and can return to the outside. I'm sorry, no combat today. I honestly underestimated how much there is still to find and to do in the Emerald Grove. I am somewhat confident, though, that we will truly be able to complete this part of the journey in the next episode. Until then, let me know if there's anything we have missed so far, and of course, if you enjoyed the video, then I would be very happy if you could leave a thumbs up. If you like what I'm doing and want to support me and my channel further, then you can also go ahead and subscribe to stay up to date, grab some merch over on shop.petecomplete.com, or become a channel member or a Patreon supporter. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.